Today I want to tell you a story about how $50 helped me teach my daughters the value of money and teach them as well that money doesn't grow on trees, while at the same time kept me from ever having to worry about Christmas again. Ever, like I don't worry about Christmas to this day. The story takes place in 2010, but first let me give you some context. Why was this important to me? So there's a few reasons, but number one above them all is that I hated the idea of raising a couple of kids, pretentious little jerks that felt this sense of obligation about everything and lived in my house and called me dad. That idea was something that tortured me because I would have created them and made them to be these little jerks. And on top of that, I knew it was going to be hard to teach them this vague idea that even adults struggle with. It was 2010 when the lesson became concrete. But before that, I actually saw the problem in 2009. I just quit my job and I was visiting a friend for Christmas. They were giving gifts. They were doing this thing. I didn't have my girls at the time. They were with their mother, but they were exchanging gifts within the family. And the little boy, he must have been 4, 5, 6, must have got like a dozen gifts. And by the time he got to number 12, he was happy. They kept coming. The gifts kept coming. And then obviously they ended, as all gifts do. And when they did end, let me tell you, this kid lost his mind. He was crying so bad that it broke my heart, actually, because it felt painful. But it also made me feel bad for the parent because they're like, okay, I just got you all these gifts and you're still not happy. Oh no, what am I gonna do? Calm down. Like we can't, there's a limit, right? The things end, right? Things do end. Now, who's at fault here? Is it the kid for being a pretentious little jerk, for being entitled and feeling like they should just keep coming? Or is it the parent? I hate to say that it's anyone's fault. However, the responsibility does fall on the parent because I do feel that this is a learned behavior. So I said to myself, what can I do? What can I do different? Because I'm probably going to do the exact same thing if I'm not careful. What can I do different? So I thought of this idea that I would enact this next coming year. And that's what I'm about to lay out. Now remember, as I said earlier, I was broke. I had just quit my job. I was living in my parents' house. And I was starting a business and trying to figure out how to get people to give me money to do things for them. So it was a big challenge. I didn't know where I was going to be in a year. So this was January. I'm starting to think it through. And I didn't know where I was going to be in a year for the next Christmas, how I was going to be able to afford anything. I was pretty sure that I wasn't going to have much money. However, what I ended up doing was this. I knew that I had a bank account that had, at my bank, that had this feature where if for every purchase you made, they would withdraw $1 from your checking account and put it into your savings account. It's like a undercover stashing thing that they did. And that way you didn't feel it as bad. So ideally, by the end of the year, you have a few $100s that you've stashed that you can use for emergencies or Christmas or whatnot. So I was going to play with that idea. I knew that was a thing. So I figured by the end of the year, if I was a good boy and I didn't blow it or had a ton of emergencies, I would have some cash. That's where the funds were going to come from. All right, next, I told my girls like in July or so, I said, hey girls, this year for Christmas, I'm not going to give you any gifts. So I made it really scandalous. I'm not going to give you any gifts. They're like, oh no, what do you mean, Dad? Why won't you give us any gifts? Are we bad? I'm like, no. What I am going to do is I'm going to give you each some money. And I didn't know how much yet. It ended up being $50 each. But I'm going to each give you some money. We're going to take you to the store. We're going to take you to the bank. You're going to get the money. And then we're going to go to the store. And then you're going to buy whatever you want. They're like, whoa, $50. No, they didn't know yet. This was later, but nonetheless, we can buy whatever. Yeah, whatever. Candy, yes. Toys, yes. Whatever you want. It's going to be your money, but you're going to have to choose. It'll be your choice what you do with that money. All right? Oh, yeah, great. So the anticipation was being built every month or so. I'd say, hey, girls, it's getting close. We're not going to get you anything. I'm not going to get you anything. Ha, ha, ha. So it became kind of a joke. And to this day, when they tell the story, they do say that. And it makes me happy because here's an interesting little insight is make it a story, make it an experience because they're going to remember that and it's going to actually stick. So more on that in a bit. So the day finally arrived, December 26th. So it was actually the day after. As a general rule, the entire time that I've been divorced, I don't get the girls on the actual holiday. And more on that in a later video where I can share with you what the thinking was there and why I chose to do that at a very early age and very early on in the divorce. So anyways, I got them on December 26th. Pick them up. Whoo, everybody's happy. They're excited because we've been talking about it. So they're pumped. They're energetic. Go to the bank. Wells Fargo. It used to be Wachovia, but that's another story, right? So we go to Wells Fargo, drive up, and this is what's important to me. It has to be an experience. It has to be something that involves our entire little bodies. Anyways, we go to the front counter. Young lady asked what we want. We're here to withdraw some money. It's $50. And I asked her, please give me, smaller bills so we can split it up. So I wanted them to feel like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. I don't think they've ever held that much money in their hands before that. So that had to be like whoa, this is crazy. They have the money. We walk out. They're so excited. And I think like for a moment, and thinking this through right now, as I think this through right now, I can't help but feel like there was this moment of like, I am rich because they're kids. So just so you know, at this time, they were 7 and 5. My oldest was 7 and my younger one was 5. So he's 7 and 5, and they each had $50. All right, what are we doing next? We're going to Target. Get in the car, head to Target. We go over the general rules of this entire thing. Once again, buy whatever you want. You can buy all candy. I don't care. But it's really important that it's your choice. Fantastic. Toys. Yes, candy. I mean, you can't help but wonder what's going on in their little head. All this money, all this candy, all these toys. Whoa. Fantastic. We get to Target. We walk around. We end up in the big toy section. We have a basket, by the way. Grab a little basket. Head to the big toy section. They always love it there when we go, but we've never been able to buy too much. And my big girl starts chunking some big stuff in there. So does my little girl, because she's kind of just essentially mirroring what the big one's doing, what the older one is doing. Boom, boom, boom. We look at the prices. One was like a plush toy. It was like $30. And I think another one was like $10 or $15. And right here we go. Oh, we're at 45, 40, 45. We're doing the math, and she has $5 left. She's like, oh, Big one, the little one does the same. She's good at math, so she does her calculations. She's at 40 to 45 as well, because she's pretty much just mirroring what the older one is doing. Fantastic. All right. Then my older one says to me, Dad, yes, can we go to the art section? I said, of course. Of course we can go to the art section. We're artists. It's a big deal for me. I have art everywhere since they've been little bitty girls. We write, we paint, we draw, we make a mess. Watercolors are our favorite. Paper everywhere, pencils, crayons, sharp, all those things. Grab our little basket, head over to the art section. And her eyes light up. She starts chunking more stuff in there. Pens, markers, paper, brushes, da. She comes back to me. She says, whoa, I can get like 10 things for $20, $25, and still have $25 left. I said, well, sort of. You still have to pay taxes. There's this thing called taxes. She's like, okay. I said 8.25%. We're in Dallas. So we do a little math, and she's like, okay, fine. So it's closer to 27, 28 maybe. Let's just say 30 for rounding purposes. Great, fantastic. $30, but I still have 20. Whoa. Her little brain blows up. She had in that moment realized I can have more stuff with less money. And I also think that she realized like she could have a lot more fun with this stuff. She can create, she could paint. She loves art. She loves this entire process because they're my kids. And we do it all the time. So she says to me and asks, can I put the big toys back and just keep the art stuff? Absolutely. Of course you can. And then the young one says, me too. I used to call her me too because essentially anything that older one would do, she would do, and she would say, me too, can I have a hug? Me too, can I have a kiss? Me too, can I have $5? Me too. So she did, and she had done the math, and she had reasoned and understood her older sister's reasoning. But I think in that particular moment, she started to understand that there's this limited supply of money that I have just given you. You can buy what you want, but there is a limit to it. You have to make choices. You have to decide what's more important, what you will value more, what's going to give you more joy. And that, I think, was the moment that the lesson became concrete, because from that point forward, we have never, ever had to worry about me giving them money for just money's sake. They don't ask for things that don't matter. When they do ask for money, is usually within reason. They've never asked for flamboyant things. They understand that it costs money. And I think, if I remember correctly, I also told them that most people, including myself, up to a certain point, not too long before that, might make $10 an hour if they're lucky. I just gave them $50 each. So like, I had to work 5 hours roughly, let's not include taxes there, 5 hours to make sure that I could give them these $50. 5 hours of my life. I had to go somewhere. I had to do something for them to have this money, because somebody paid it to me, right? As a wage. So asking and making sure they understood that there's actual life that has to be devoted to, given up to get this money that they would then in turn turn into whatever they wanted to purchase. And in some cases, you want to make sure that that's food and a house and whatnot. And they understood. So I use that $10 mark as a way, whenever they would ask for something that was a bit more expensive, like, how many hours of life are you willing to trade for that thing, whether it be my life or your life? $10, add $10 an hour, 10, 15, whatever that number may be. How many hours of your life are you willing to trade off? And they got it. They get it. And that, for me, was one of the biggest lessons. And I must admit, I feel like I may have peaked too soon. That was where I felt like I had reached parenting heaven, and I had figured it all out. I didn't. I might have got lucky a little bit, but I did set some things in motion. And I definitely feel good about myself, because it was important. I've easily avoided a ton of other issues that could have become more complicated. And I think one of the biggest ones as well, if I can throw this in here, is just the sense of appreciation. Like, whatever you do see, whatever money is being spent, has taken some form of life. It took someone's life, hours out of their life, to create the income, to create the revenue, to be able to purchase those things. And appreciation is a very funny thing. We talk about it all the time nowadays. Like, kids just need to appreciate, or people need to appreciate. It's a hard thing to teach if you don't actually make it something that they can actually feel and understand concretely, especially for children. Even adults don't appreciate much. So how can you reproduce this? Number one, set an expectation. It doesn't have to be for Christmas, but set an expectation in the future that next month, for example, on January 31st, I'm going to give you $50, and then we're going to do this thing. Set the expectation, build it up, take them, drive them in the car, put money in their hand. All this to me is really important, is that they can actually feel this entire thing. You could also tell them that they should experience, that they should feel this thing, or that they should know these things, but it's not going to work, especially with children. They need to feel with every sense in their body what it's like to do these things. So build expectation, get them excited, give them the money, take them to the bank, ideally, give them cash so they can feel the money, take them to the store, give them permission, let them wander. And I do think I got lucky that my daughter figured that out on her own, and that it helped the learning happen. I didn't have to force it. It really just kind of came out of them. And I do feel that children are brilliant if they're allowed to let their mind run, if we push them and nudge them. But if for you have issues and you want to try this out, here's a few prompts that I came up with that would have helped to ensure that they do end up where you want them to, and then start having the conversations. So number one is, if you save some of this money, what could you do with it later? Because that's one of the lessons that my big girl got. Like, hey, I can spend this stuff. I can spend it on fewer things, and I'll have some more to do with other things with it later. So ask that question. If you save some of this money, what could you do with it later? Number two, if you get this one big item, what might you have to give up? Because this one big item is $30, $40. And then there's these other things that you could get, maybe even have them grab other things that are less expensive. So what do you have to give up? One is saving. You won't be saving as much. You won't be getting as much stuff. Two is not getting as much stuff. So asking that question should help as well. Number three is, and this goes back to what I was talking about earlier, is how many hours do you think someone would have to work to earn $50? Does that change how you feel about spending it? So mommy has to go, daddy has to go to work for 5 extra hours to go get this money, and they're not home. They're not playing with you. would that change how you feel about the money? You have to actually give them metaphors. And this is all of us, right? We need metaphors to understand things. We need pictures. We need stories. Which brings me to the last thing I wanted to really stress as we wrap up this video. Remember, always make it fun and make it a game. Kids learn through games. Kids learn through fun. As a general rule in my family, I try to live by this mantra, which is create stories, not rules. Create experiences that create stories as opposed to creating rules. Because rules are just like, don't do this, don't do that, da, da, da. And on some level, it'll work. We need them. However, if you really want to teach some things that really matter in life, you're going to have to create experiences that they will remember because they were in their bodies when they went through them. My name is Teevee. Hopefully this was of some benefit to you, especially as we're heading into Christmas season. Although this is a timeless lesson that I've been wanting to share with the world for the longest in a much better way than I have in the past. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Teevee. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the podcast. If you're listening to this on your podcast stations, YouTube, subscribe there, like, share with anyone that could probably benefit from this story, because I do feel that it's a universally applicable story that can benefit anyone, but especially parents. Thank you. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.